General Hospital spoilers update for Wednesday, August 6th, reveals that Carly Spencer will strike a deal, but there'll be one condition. Dante Falconeri will also work off the record while Harrison Chase defends Willow Tate. So here's what GH fans can expect. At the Metro Court pool, Chase will ambush Michael Corinthos and rush to Willow's defense. However, Michael won't be interested in discussing Willow, and may hint that there are things Chase doesn't understand. Now that Michael is convinced Willow stalked Daisy Gilmore and spooked Sasha Gilmore Corbin into leaving Port Charles with her, he's more determined than ever to protect the kids. At GH, Willow will look rattled as she pressures Isaiah Gannon to keep some news between them. Whatever Willow's hiding will no doubt be something that could make matters worse in the custody case. Willow won't want to do anything to jeopardize her chance to get her kids back. That means Willow will keep covering her tracks when it comes to this baby stalker situation. But it's possible Isaiah could figure it out next. If Isaiah puts it together that Willow moved Daisy from her bassinet shortly after she was born, that could put him in a tight spot. Regardless, Isaiah will seem concerned about Willow as he seeks updates and throws some questions at her. Over with Danny Morgan, he'll have some words of wisdom for Rocco Falconeri. While Danny's dishing out guidance, Jason Morgan will be busy ordering Liesl Albrecht to stop making a mess of Rocco's relationship with Dante and Lulu Spencer. Speaking of Lulu, she'll ask Carly to form an alliance. It sounds like Lulu will need Carly to help sabotage Albrecht's attempt to bond with Rocco, so Carly may agree to pitch in if Lulu meets her stipulation. Across town, Dante will tackle an off-the-record challenge for Laura Collins. It'll be interesting to see if this involves Liesl, Sonny Corinthos, Jen Sidwell or someone else. Elsewhere, Tracy Quartermaine will do an about-face on something. Since Tracy will have a change of heart, she may ultimately go along with Sidwell's suggestion and skip turning in the deception proof against Sonny. Finally, Sonny and ADA Justine Turner have another prickly encounter coming up, but it seems it'll take a softer turn in the end. General Hospital spoilers say Justine and Sonny may find there's more than meets the eye to each other, so stay tuned for the bonding scenes ahead. General Hospital spoilers for the next 2 weeks suggest some twists and turns. From August 4th to 15th, fans can expect Britt Westbourne to face some complications. Carly Spencer has a proposal for Jack Brennan. Plus, what is Drew Kane's next move? Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up in the ABC soap opera. Before getting to the 2-weekers, let's discuss what is coming up from August 4th to 8th. Carly will have some kind of proposal for Jack. This could have something to do with Brennan's orders for Vaughn and Jocelyn Jacks. With Carly not realizing her daughter is a WSB agent, Joss will have to come up with a cover story. In a preview clip for Monday's episode, Jocelyn explains that it is the best way to put distance between them. Christina Corinthos Davis offer over with Christina Corinthos Davis. It seems that she could have a problem with going any further with the scheme. Cody Bell doesn't seem to want to do something in regards to Ava Jerome. When Christina offers an extra $10,000, Cody quickly accepts though. Tracy Quartermaine sabotage fans will also see Jen Sidwell attempt to sabotage Tracy Quartermaine. Meanwhile, Danny Morgan offers Rocco Falconeri some words of wisdom. Michael Corinthos contemplates a theory. Could he suspect that Willow Tate was the one who was gaslighting Sasha Gilmore Corbin with the baby? Willow does try to make another plea to Michael. However, he informs her that it's out of his hands. Over with Justine Turner, she thaws a bit regarding Sonny Corinthos. Emma Scorpio Drake opens up to Trina Robinson. Plus, Drew won't stop and continues going to Elizabeth Baldwin for help with Willow. Then we have Britt, who will face more complications in her resort situation. General Hospital spoilers. Next 2 weeks during the week of August 11th, we might find out more about what Britt is doing and why she faked her death. There will also be Vaughn and Jocelyn, who will get all set up to eavesdrop at the resort. By this time Jason might arrive, but he could run into some dead ends finding Britt. That could lead to Jason and Jocelyn facing each other at the resort. That should be interesting, so stay tuned. Carly stood at the edge of the Metro Court terrace, staring into the distance with her arms crossed. The wind tugged gently at her hair, but her mind was caught in a cyclone of possibilities. The deal she was about to make wasn't just another business maneuver. It was a calculated move with consequences that stretched far beyond her. She wasn't just protecting herself. She was doing this for her family. But Carly had one condition, and it wasn't negotiable. Inside, the restaurant buzzed with the usual crowd, but one table remained discreetly reserved in the corner. Dante sat there waiting, sipping slowly from a glass of water. His badge was tucked away, and his expression wasn't that of a cop. It was a man torn between duty and the people he cared about. Carly finally walked in, every step deliberate. She sat down without a word, her gaze hard, challenging him. Dante didn't flinch. "You asked for this meeting," he said calmly. Carly nodded. "I did. And I'll give you what you want. But only if you agree to keep this off the record." There was a long pause between them. The implications of her words hovered like a storm cloud over the table. Dante leaned back slightly. "You know I can't promise that if it involves something criminal." Her jaw tightened. "It's not about breaking the law, Dante. It's about protecting people. Innocent people. And I don't trust anyone else to understand that." Dante considered her. "Who exactly do you think needs protection?" Carly sighed, glancing around before lowering her voice. "Willow. And by extension Michael and the kids." That caught his attention. "What's going on?" "I know things," Carly said slowly. "Things that could tear this entire family apart if they get out the wrong way. But if I share them with you, I need to know you'll keep it between us, unless it becomes absolutely necessary." Dante didn't respond immediately. Instead, he studied her face, looking for a lie, a hesitation, a crack in her certainty. But Carly was stone. "I care about Willow too," he said eventually. "And I don't want to see Michael drag through anything that could hurt his kids. So tell me." Carly glanced down at her folded hands. "Drew and Nina are circling. They think they've won. Drew is setting himself up as the moral compass of this town. And Nina, she thinks forgiveness is a guarantee. But that's not the problem. The problem is, Nina is about to use her influence again. She's trying to push herself back into Willow's life, and she's doing it with Michael's permission." Dante looked surprised. "Michael? He agreed to that." "He's exhausted," Carly said. "He just wants peace. But it's not peace Nina's offering. It's manipulation. And Drew, he's enabling her because it keeps him close to the family. He wants Willow to feel like she owes them both. And you're saying Willow's not in the right state of mind to see that?" "She's getting stronger," Carly admitted. "But she's still vulnerable. And Chase is the only one who sees it clearly." Dante's brow furrowed. "Chase?" "Yeah. He had a run-in with Nina at the hospital. She tried to insert herself into a conversation with Willow, and Chase stepped in. He saw right through it." Dante leaned in. "So what do you want from me?" "I want you to be my backup," she said. Quietly. "You've got access. You'll hear things I won't. And if something starts to spiral, if Drew starts digging into things he shouldn't, I want to know." Dante frowned. "You think Drew's up to something shady?" "Not yet. But I know the signs. He's looking for leverage. He wants power and he's tired of being the outsider. If he finds out what Willow's been hiding, or worse, what Michael's trying to forgive, he'll use it." Dante exhaled and leaned back again. "You want me to spy on him?" "No," Carly said firmly. "I want you to protect them. The way you protected Rocco. The way you looked out for Lulu when no one else would. This is about family." Dante was quiet for a long time before he finally nodded once. "Off the record. But if this goes sideways, I'll take the heat," Carly promised. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Willow was finishing up her shift, her mind replaying the interaction she'd had earlier that day. Nina had stopped her in the hallway, smiling as though nothing had happened, as though months of lies and betrayal could be erased with soft words and motherly concern. But before Willow had to face her alone, Chase had appeared. He placed a firm hand on Nina's shoulder and politely, but firmly, interrupted. "I think Willow has patients to check on," he had said. His voice had carried just enough authority to send Nina backing off with a forced smile. Now, as Willow slipped out of her scrubs, she found Chase waiting for her near the elevator. "Hey," he said gently. "You okay?" She gave a tired smile. "I'm fine. Just tired of pretending everything's okay." He walked with her down the hallway. "You don't have to pretend. Not with me." Willow stopped walking. "I know Michael's trying to be the bigger person. I respect that. But I can't pretend like I don't feel something every time she looks at me like she still owns a piece of me. Chase nodded. You don't owe her anything. I know, Willow whispered. But it's hard to say that out loud when everyone keeps telling me how much she regrets what she did. Chase's jaw tightened. Regret doesn't erase consequences. You don't have to forgive anyone on their timeline. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice almost trembling. Not of her, but of what forgiving her would mean. It would mean letting her back in. It would mean trusting her with Wiley and Amelia. And I'm not sure I can do that. Chase reached out and squeezed her hand gently. Then don't. Not until you're ready. And if you never are, that's okay too. You're allowed to protect your peace. She looked up at him, her eyes softening. You've always been there for me. He gave a half smile. And I always will be. Back at Carly's house, she poured herself a glass of wine and stood by the window, watching the lights of Port Charles flicker in the distance. She could feel the storm brewing beneath the calm surface. Nina was trying to rewrite history, and Drew was beginning to make moves that didn't quite add up. But the bigger concern now was Michael. If he continued down this path of forced reconciliation, he would open the door for all kinds of pain, especially for Willow. Carly had seen it before. She'd made those mistakes herself. That's why she needed Dante on the inside. That's why she needed Chase to keep doing what he was doing. Willow was fragile, yes, but she was also on the cusp of regaining her strength. And Carly intended to make sure no one exploited her vulnerability before that happened. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. It was Michael. Hey, he said, walking in. Everything okay? Carly asked, trying to read his mood. He sighed. I just had another talk with Nina. Carly stiffened but said nothing. She's trying. I see that. But Willow's not there yet. And part of me wonders if she ever will be. Carly studied him. And what would you do if she never forgave Nina? He hesitated. Then I guess we move forward without her. Carly nodded slowly. That's the first thing you've said that makes sense. Michael sat down, rubbing the back of his neck. I'm tired of all the fighting. I know, she said. But you don't win peace by handing over your trust to the wrong people. You know that. I just want my family safe. And that's exactly why you need to stop making room for Nina in it. They sat in silence for a few moments before Michael finally got up. I'm going to check on Willow. As he left, Carly exhaled. The pieces were moving now. And even though the game was subtle, it was deadly serious. Nina wanted redemption. Drew wanted control. And Willow just wanted to breathe. But Carly? Carly wanted justice with one unbreakable condition. No one hurts her family. Not again. Not ever. Britt had hoped things might finally settle down after her return to Port Charles, but fate had other plans. The complications she thought she had overcome were now rearing their head again, and she was starting to feel the pressure from all sides. When she first arrived back, she believed she could start over. Maybe even find peace. But the reality of living among ghosts of the past, old flames and lingering betrayals was far more difficult than she imagined. Her health scare from months ago, the one she thought was behind her, has returned with greater severity. She tries to downplay it at first, dismissing the symptoms as stress or exhaustion. But deep down, she knows this isn't just fatigue. It's the beginning of something she might not be able to control. While she struggles in silence, trying to manage the symptoms without alarming anyone, Carly finds herself at a different kind of crossroads. Her world has shifted again with the news about Sunny, the fallout with Nina, and her ever-complicated relationship with Drew. She's determined not to play the victim, and instead, she chooses to make a bold move. Carly's proposal isn't romantic, at least not at first. It's strategic, perhaps even cold. She offers a partnership to someone unexpected, one that could shift the balance of power in Port Charles. Her target? Not Sunny, not Jason, and not even Drew. Instead, Carly goes to someone many would never expect: Valentine. She believes that if she can work with him, perhaps they can achieve something that benefits both parties. For Carly, this is about protecting her family. For Valentine, it's about seizing power in the vacuum left by Sunny's emotional spiral. Drew, meanwhile, is watching all of this unfold and recalibrating his own strategy. His relationship with Carly has been rocky ever since she made choices that didn't align with his sense of morality. But he still cares, perhaps more than he lets on. Drew has been trying to forge a new path for himself, something more than just Jason's replacement or the moral compass in CARLY'S world. He wants agency. He wants control. And he knows he can't achieve that by standing still. His next move will surprise many, especially those who thought they knew what Drew was about. He begins holding quiet meetings, discreet encounters with people like Laura, Anna, and even Jordan. He's laying groundwork, not for revenge but for transformation. He wants to reshape his identity in Port Charles, not as someone else's echo, but as a man with his own vision. Back at the hospital, Britt's health crisis begins to worsen. She collapses during a routine shift, sending shockwaves through the staff. Liesl is devastated, blaming herself for not pushing her daughter to take the symptoms more seriously. Maxie too feels helpless, watching one of her closest friends spiral without being able to intervene. The diagnosis is more serious than anyone feared. Britt is faced with a choice: aggressive treatment with no guarantees, or stepping back from medicine entirely to focus on what time she might have left. She's torn, angry at the unfairness of it all. Just as she was rediscovering her purpose, she's being asked to give it all up. But she isn't one to wallow in despair for long. Britt begins writing a list of things she still wants to do, people she still wants to forgive, confessions she wants to make. Her time might be limited, but she's determined to make it count. As for CARLY, her proposal to Valentine doesn't go unanswered. He's intrigued by her offer, skeptical but curious. Valentine has always seen CARLY as a fierce competitor, but never as a partner. Their goals don't always align, but in this moment they might. He agrees to a tentative alliance with conditions. CARLY must be honest about her motives, and she must be willing to make sacrifices. She doesn't hesitate. She's done playing it safe. CARLY knows the battlefield of Port Charles is changing, and if she doesn't adapt, she'll be left behind. She's not just fighting for her own future anymore. She's fighting for Michael, for Donna, for Jocelyn. And perhaps deep down, she's fighting to reclaim some piece of herself that she feels she's lost. Drew sees the shifts happening and knows he can't afford to be reactive. He begins to dig deeper into Sunny's business dealings, sensing that cracks are beginning to form in the once impenetrable Corinthos empire. He's not looking to take Sunny down, not exactly, but he's looking for leverage. If Sunny falters, Drew wants to be ready to pick up the pieces, especially if it means safeguarding CARLY and the children. He reconnects with Curtis, floating the idea of a more official business partnership, perhaps even a new legitimate venture that could rival the Corinthos name in respect, if not in infamy. Curtis is cautious, knowing full well that any move against Sunny, however indirect, comes with risk. But Drew is persuasive and Curtis agrees to consider it. Britt, meanwhile, begins reaching out to people she had previously shut out. She meets with Brad, sharing memories and laughter laced with sorrow. She writes a letter to Jason she knows he'll never read. She even considers reaching out to Nicholas, unsure if she wants forgiveness or to offer it. Her vulnerability is raw, and for once, she doesn't hide behind sarcasm or bravado. She's simply Britt, flawed, frightened, and hopeful. As CARLY'S alliance with Valentine strengthens, others begin to notice. Laura is suspicious of the partnership, concerned that CARLY may be biting off more than she can chew. Anna, ever the strategist, keeps her distance but watches closely. Nina, on the other hand, is furious. She sees CARLY'S move not just as ambition, but as a direct attack. Nina believes CARLY is trying to box her out of Sunny's world entirely. And she's not wrong. CARLY may no longer love Sunny in the same way, but she isn't about to let Nina play stepmother to her grandchildren without a fight. Drew finally makes his most daring move yet. He sets up a meeting with Sunny. The two men have a complicated history, but Drew is calm and clear. He tells Sunny that things are changing, that the people Sunny once trusted are moving in new directions. It's not a threat, it's a warning. Sunny is dismissive at first, believing Drew is bluffing. But as the conversation goes on, Sunny begins to realize that Drew might be right. There are cracks in his empire. People are choosing new sides. And his once iron grip on Port Charles is beginning to loosen. At the hospital, Britt decides to take a temporary leave. She tells Terry she needs time to focus on her health but also on her life. Terry is supportive, offering to hold her position until she returns. Britt smiles but doesn't promise anything. She isn't sure if she'll come back. Her mother wants her to seek treatment overseas, somewhere with experimental options. But Britt wants to stay in Port Charles for now. She's not ready to leave behind the people who've become her family. Carly and Drew meet again, their conversation laced with both affection and tension. Carly admits she's working with Valentine, and Drew doesn't hide his disapproval. But he also respects her decision. They are on separate paths for now, but not necessarily opposing ones. Carly thanks him for understanding, and he tells her she doesn't owe him gratitude, just honesty. There's something unspoken between them, an acknowledgement that things may never be the same, but that doesn't mean they're over. In a quieter moment, Britt visits the pier at sunset, sitting alone and watching the waves. She thinks about the life she's lived, the mistakes, the triumphs, the love she almost had with Jason. She whispers his name into the wind, hoping that somehow, somewhere, he hears her. Her eyes fill with tears, but she doesn't cry. She's not afraid of dying. She's afraid of leaving things unfinished. Valentine, ever the tactician, begins executing the early stages of the plan he and Carly devised. It's bold, risky, and dependent on mutual trust, something neither of them is good at. But for now it's working. They begin to reshape power in Port Charles, not with violence, but with strategy, influence, and boldness. Nina begins to feel the pressure and makes her own move, reaching out to Ava to form a counter-alliance. But Ava, ever the opportunist, isn't quick to choose sides. The next 2 weeks in Port Charles are anything but quiet. Shifting alliances, emotional reckonings, and difficult choices dominate every corner of the canvas. Britt's struggle brings unexpected moments of connection. Carly's ambition forces her to make moral compromises. Drew's search for purpose pushes him into dangerous territory. And as everyone braces for what's next, one thing becomes clear. No one is standing still. Not anymore.